Hello, welcome to another video. Summer is soon coming to an end. It all goes by so quickly, so I'm trying to be present and make the most of this season while it's still warm. As usual, I'm a bit overwhelmed by the amount of in-season flowers and fruit available to paint at harvest time. Where I live is surrounded by endless rolling hills of farmland, and it never gets old watching them rise and fall like waves in the ocean. I was given these beautiful dahlias one day, and I couldn't wait to get to my studio to paint them. Yellow is one of the most challenging colors, but I do love a challenge. I put them in an Amarina cherry jar because I like the shape of it and how the blue complements the yellow. When there is such an abundance of subject matter in season, there can be a sense of urgency to gather them all and paint everything. But if I don't have the time to paint it before it dies, then I might resort to photographing it. My art training was centered around studying nature from life, meaning instead of using photographs for reference, it is considered best practice to set the real objects or human figure in front of you and study it with your own two eyes. But as you know, if you watched my last episode, I'm not against using photographic reference when needed at this point. However, when I am able, I do prefer studying my subjects from life. People often ask me why I don't just take a picture of a landscape or portrait and paint it at home. Why go through all the trouble of lugging my supplies out of the studio and practically beg human beings to sit still for long periods of time? The answer is simple. For me, there is so much more to the experience of painting something than just copying what I see. With every painting I do from life comes a whole experience of its own, and the painting means so much more to me because of the memories and stories attached to the experience of creating it.
Farewell, so long forever. Goodbye, my Coney Island. Goodbye, my Coney Island. Goodbye, my Coney Island. We all fall for some girl that dresses an altar, just like leading lambs to slaughter. When it's over, oh boy, we get it good. That's the days we then recall. So, rich man, poor man, beggar man, thief, doctor, lawyer, merchant, chief, we all are bound for goodbye, my Coney Island baby. Farewell, my own true love, my honey. I'm gonna go away and leave you, never see you again. I'm gonna sail from that very boat, never to return again.
Nowadays, it is becoming more and more common to spend most of our time indoors in front of screens. and many of us interact with each other through the internet or over the phone more often than we do in person. When we go out into the world, we pass through it so quickly. Our minds weed through the immense amount of information available, and we only notice what is necessary. We see the general picture of things. Depression is on the rise, and I think in large part the result of a combination of these things. My art practice helps me engage with my surroundings and really see the world around me for the first time. I can observe a single leaf or flower for hours and never tire of it. Frederick Frank rightly argued, "You have not seen what you have not drawn." It is also worth noting that even with the very best photography nowadays, a lot of important information is left out, and photography is its own art form, with its own beauty and merits. Painting and drawing have different requirements that involve observing and experiencing life, not so we can then create paintings that are like photographs, but so that we can create paintings that are better than a photograph. Not in realism, but in feeling. If the whole point of representational art was to paint like photographs, then that would be pretty boring. I've always had a difficult time explaining this because our modern culture relies on photography daily and consume it at an immensely large rate. So hopefully through these episodes, my point of view will become more clear. Painting from life isn't easy. I felt a resistance to it because it was hard. The first time I ventured outdoors with my easel, it was cold, windy, there were bugs getting stuck in my paint, my toes were numb, not to mention the speed at which the light changed the whole landscape. But afterwards, when I packed up, went home, and reflected on it over a warm meal, I felt a lot of satisfaction. Even though I didn't create a masterpiece, I felt like I had put in a good day's work, and my senses were alive. As you watch me paint, I'd like to read you a little bit of this book that I read over the summer. The book is called This Is Happiness by Niall Williams. This little piece from this book I just think is so perfect, and I just really wanted to share it with you. So here it is. Christy sang, "I cannot tell you how startling it was. If you believe in a soul, as I do, then my soul stirred." The song was not composed by Christy, but by the alchemy of performance you felt it was. It seems to me the quality that makes any book, music, painting worthwhile is life, just that. Books, music, painting are not life, can never be as full, rich, complex, surprising, or beautiful, but the best of them can catch an echo of that, can turn you back to look out the window, or go out the door aware that you've been enriched, that you have been in the company of something alive that has caused you to realize once again how astonishing life is, and you leave the book, gallery, or concert hall with that illumination, which feels, I'm going to say, holy, by which I mean human raptness. So here it was, that quality, that life in a man singing. Now, I'm not saying Christy was a great singer, or even a good singer. The world has enough critics, and technique, tone, pitch, and the rest were all rendered irrelevant by the fact that the singing stopped your heart. It reached in and seized it and didn't let go. It said, listen, here's a human being who has suffered for love. It said, here's a heart aching. And that ache was large enough, urgent, and familiar enough for you all to feel it, and by feeling participate in something you yourself were either too timid, closed, or unlucky to have known personally, or had known in the long ago of your own innocence, over which you had since grown the skin necessary to tolerate the loss and stay living. Another thing I did over the summer, and that I seem to be constantly doing, is figuring out creative ways to add storage to our studio. We have a ton of art books that we never could see because they were in piles behind stacks of paintings or in closets. And we try to leave the little wall space that we have for hanging paintings. So we were avoiding covering wall space with bookshelves for that reason. And I thought it would be nice to create a cozy reading nook. We had an old model stage that was taking up a lot of space. We decided to use it as a sort of wall divider and bookshelf. Behind it, we could store some larger paintings that didn't have a home, and all of our art books would be visible and accessible. I had some wood stain left, so I stained it, which made it match the ceiling and other wood furniture in the room.
Looking good.
It's beautiful, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
I think, if I remember right, it takes quite a while to dry. And you're supposed to do multiple coats, 10 coats. But
I wouldn't do too many coats. I'd just do it one time. I'd even think about just wiping it on with a rag, to be honest with you. But it'll dry really quick if you wipe it on, and it'll show more of the wood through. It'll look more natural.
yeah, it does have like that orange look to it. Like the ceiling. Oh yeah, I see.
Here, take a break and make you a little solid.
Thank you. I'm done. Thank you so much for watching. I'm really looking forward to sharing my next video real soon. I already have some really fun things put together. So I hope you had a great summer and we'll see you real soon. Goodbye.